Hola muchachos, welcome to the Visio. So today, we're going to be talking about the secrets to becoming superhuman, like the legend himself. So muchachos, if you have no idea who Bruce Lee is, you are really missing out, because he was one of the most influential men in all of modern history, because he had power. Speed. And a physique that was muy bueno. So when it came to fitness, Bruce definitely knew what he was doing. And I definitely think that we can all learn a lesson or two from this guy. And what better way to do that than to take a closer look at his evolution. So ever since Bruce was a child, he was always fascinated with pushing his limits and trying to maximize his full potential. So I guess you can say that from a very early age, he was always serious about securing the bag. So muchachos, the bag is not exactly what you think it is. It is actually an acronym that means big, audacious goal. So this is a goal that is so big that it usually takes about 10 years to a lifetime to accomplish. And when you set it correctly, it should scare you a little bit, but also excite you a lot. And for Bruce, one main element of his bag was his desire to fully express himself through fighting, especially the martial arts called Wing Chun. So Bruce was so passionate about Wing Chun that he actually began to teach it to others in San Francisco. But unfortunately for him, other people did not share his same enthusiasm.
Bruce!
Oh, Wong, it's you.
I heard that you're teaching Wing Chun to Westerners.
Yeah, what's your point?
You have dishonored the family. Wing Chun is for Chinese only.
Wong, what you talking about? Wing Chun for everybody. We wax, man.
No, I will never relax. I challenge you to a duel. If you lose, you must stop teaching Wing Chun forever.
All right, as you wish.
Two hours later.
Hello?
Wong!
Oh.
What's wrong, Wong?
Oh, hey, baby.
Where are you?
Oh, it's the wife.
Oh.
It's the wife. I gotta go. I'll be right there, honey. Yeah, I gotta go.
Oh, I get it, man.
It's,
I understand.
you understand?
Thank
you.
So after the fight with Wong, Bruce began to see all the flaws in Wing Chun. And he started to realize that by focusing on just one rigid style of martial arts, he was greatly holding himself back from becoming the ultimate fighter and also securing his bag. So because of this, he decided it was time for him to open up his mind and begin to explore different fighting techniques, like fencing for footwork and movement, boxing for strikes, and various other techniques from other martial arts. So to Bruce, nothing was off limits, and he decided to take the best parts of each system and combine them into his own, called Jeet Kune Do. So muchachos, we can actually learn a whole lot from Bruce in this situation, because when it comes to fitness, there are many ways to get in shape. For example, you could do bodybuilding, strongman, parkour, even goat yoga. The possibilities are endless, and the truth is, every single system has its own strengths and weaknesses. Therefore, if you become super dogmatic and think that one style is the end-all be-all, you could greatly be limiting your full potential. So for example, just like Bruce, I also have a bag, and for me, one element of mine was my desire to become the ultimate stud muffin. So to accomplish this, I first started with lifting weights. But unfortunately, over time, that started to feel a little bit too limiting because even though I always wanted to become more aesthetic, I also wanted to have muscles that could move and do pretty cool stuff. And by just lifting weights, I felt like I was greatly missing out. So because of this, I decided it was time for me to expand my knowledge base and start to experiment with a new style of training. Speaking of training, that's another thing that Bruce began to do very differently. Because back in the day, old school martial artists used to focus on just technique in order to improve their fighting abilities. But for Bruce, he knew that this was definitely not that way. And because of this, he began to research a whole lot more about strength training, while also at the same time testing and applying the things he was learning. So muchachos, to me, this is a massive lesson because even though Bruce was brand new to strength training, he didn't just sit there waiting to find the perfect routine. Instead, he took massive action and used each training session as a learning experience that could potentially get him closer to his bag. So muchachos, if you take a closer look at Bruce's initial workout program, you probably notice that it was absolute trash. I mean, French press, incline curl, then French press again. How many French presses do you really need? But to be fair, because Bruce was very focused on being consistent with researching, testing, and improving his approach, in 5 years of training, he was able to build a physique that not only looked strong and powerful, but also one that was popular with the muchachas, with one of his lovers stating that he had one of the best bodies she had ever seen. I don't know about y'all, but if that was me, I would have been like, mission complete. But apparently, for Bruce, he wasn't too happy with his results because in those 5 years of training, he went from 130 to 165 pounds, making him feel very stiff and slow. Now, this totally went against Bruce's philosophy because he had no intentions of training to become a buff bodybuilder. Instead, all he wanted was to become a more powerful and dominant fighter. So because of this, he decided it was time for him to go back to the drawing board and began to modify his approach once again. So he first started by doing less isolations and doing more compound movements. He also added in some circuits and endurance training. Flexibility. And also isometrics to help him gain power without the extra size. Also, during this time, Bruce did not only focus on his workouts, he also started to pay a lot of attention to his nutrition. And as a result, he was able to cut down to a lean, mean machine and became the Bruce that we all know today.
Oops! Oh no, it's you again.
Ha ha ha! You surprised to see me?
How's the wife?
Don't worry about the wife. We have unfinished business that we need to finish.
I agree. Too slow.
As you can see, Bruce's journey was not very straightforward, And the main reason why he was able to become so successful had nothing to do with some secret training technique. The truth is, it was all about his mindset. Because by following this model of continuous improvement, Bruce was able to have an approach that was not only open-minded, but also scientific enough to allow him to create himself into someone that was so magnifical that he continues to inspire to this day. So muchachos, if we can learn anything from Bruce, it definitely has to be that it makes no sense to try and train to become like someone else. Instead, we should absorb what is useful, disregard the rest, and only train to become a better version of yourself. Because nobody can do that better than you, not even Bruce.